Welcome to another Craft Kit collab for teens and adults, hosted by the Wichita Falls Public Library. I'm Rosalie, and today Kelly and I are making mini macrame wall hangers. Now, we had never done macrame before, so we can both guarantee that this is beginner friendly. We took an original design from Aster and Vine and did our own versions of it, but we're going to include those resources in the craft kits as well as the description box below. Speaking of craft kits, these will be available at the service desk while supplies last. Each kit includes a dowel rod, 10 strands of macrame cord, each roughly about 4.5 feet long, and a piece of twine for hanging. They'll also have instructions and resource lists. So let's jump into the first design. For the first version, we only need 8 strands of macrame cord instead of 10. And the first knot we're going to learn is the Larks head knot. So you take one cord and fold it evenly in half and set the looped end of your cord over your dowel rod. Fold this loop behind the dowel rod and then pull the other side of your cord through it, creating a very small knot. Do this 2 times so that you have 4 cords hanging from your dowel rod. The second knot we're going to learn today is a spiral knot. You're going to take those 4 cords hanging from your dowel rod, and we're going to use the 2 outer cords as your working cords, and the 2 center cords are going to be your support cords. So, for this knot, you want to take the right working cord and fold it over the 2 supporting cords. Then take the left working cord and lay it on top of that right working cord. Now weave the left working cord behind the 2 support cords and over the right working cord. Once that's done, slowly pull the knot tight, straightening the support cords as you go. You'll do this 5 times for a completed spiral. Now repeat all of the first steps 3 more times so that you have 4 spiral knots on your dowel rod and 16 cords hanging down. The last knot we're going to learn is a square knot, and it's a 2-parter. First, leave out the first 2 cords from this row and work with the next 4 cords for your first square knot. The first part is exactly like a spiral knot, so you're going to weave the right working cord over and the left one behind. But don't pull this part too tightly. Leaving some slack above the knot will develop a pretty little flower pattern. The second part of this knot goes in the opposite direction of the first. So your left working cord goes over the support cords and you weave the right cord behind them and pull through. Pull the knots tightly together, being careful not to lose the slack above it, and this should give you an even square looking knot. Keep tying square knots across the row, moving from one set of 4 cords to the next until you have a row of 3 square knots like this. Your next row is going to bring back all of the cords and have 4 square knots in total. The row after that will go back down to 3 square knots, so you should leave out the first 2 strings again. Now at this point, you can add another row of spiral knots if you like. You'll be using all of the cords and moving across to make 4 again, just like the first row. But if your cord turns out to be a little too short, you can leave this step out. So if you leave this step out, you'll start decreasing the number of square knots until you reach 1 in the center. If you don't leave this part out, you'll do the spiral knots across first and then do a pattern of 3, 2, and 1 square knot rows. I had been working on mine for about an hour at this point, and I was pretty happy with it. So I trimmed the remaining fringe into a point and unraveled the cord to make the fringe a little fluffier. And that was it for my design. So Kelly did a couple of things differently. She has a 5th spiral knot set on her dowel, so she ended up adding 10 cords total. And she ended up using a modified square knot. So all that means here is that she did the first 2 ties like I did for mine, and then she added a 3rd one where she went in the opposite direction, like the first step. So she ended up with a kind of a 3-step knot instead of a 2-step, and it should look like this when you're done. So for Kelly's first row of square knots, she ended up leaving the first 2 out and only did 4. And then for the second row of modified square knots, she ended up using all of the cords and doing 5 in a row. After that, she ended up decreasing the number of square knots until she ended up with 1 in the center, and it should look like this. Kelly also trimmed her fringe, but she chose not to unravel it like I did. Now the last step is to tie on your twine and hang your work. If you want, you can add a drop of glue to the twine knots to secure them more to the dowel rod. But after that, you hang up your work, enjoy. Let us know if you like this craft, and we'll see you next time.